Chapter 4608. Hearing Di Beichen's voice, Lin Wenlan and Yunishan could not help but look at each other, their eyes filled with ecstasy. Beichen is really back. All these years, they had been looking forward to finding their lost grandson. However, every time they received news, they were disappointed. They didn't expect that their dream would finally come true. Good boy. It's good that you're back. The two elders' eyes were slightly wet, and their emotions were complicated. For a moment, they did not know what to say. This surprise came too suddenly. It was as if the things in their dreams had suddenly become reality. For a moment, they were doubting whether this was a dream or reality. When did Beichen come back? Lin Wenlan asked with a smile. Originally, when he came to the Di family, he was full of anger, but now that he saw Di Beichen, his anger quietly dissipated. He just came back yesterday, Di Beichen replied. Yunishan was unwilling to let go of Di Beichen's hand, as if she let go, her grandson would run away. Beichen, have you been suffering out there all these years? Her gentle voice was full of love and concern, but more than that, heartache. Grandmother, I've been living very well. I haven't suffered, Di Beichen replied with a smile. If in the past he felt that he was abandoned by his family and was an orphan, and felt lonely and sad, now he only felt that he was really lucky. His master raised him and had never mistreated him, and his family cared for him so much. Since yesterday, he felt that this might be the arrangement of God. If he did not go to the lower realm because of the accident, how could he have met Hong Zhuang? In comparison, he felt that the current situation was the best arrangement of God. How could you not have suffered? Yunishan sighed, and her eyes were full of love. But it's good that you're back now. It was impossible for a child to live a lonely life without suffering. However, looking at Di Beichen's current appearance, she knew that Beichen had grown up well. Grandfather, grandmother, you don't have to worry anymore. Now that Beichen is back, mother's heart will be cured. Di Xiaofeng comforted. Lin Wenlan nodded. She couldn't help but glance at Di Yujue, frowning. Beichen has already returned. Why didn't you tell us earlier? You made us worry. Listening to Lin Wenlan's words, Di Yujue was also depressed. He clearly wanted to say it several times, but she kept interrupting him. Okay? Now you're blaming me for all of this. Even though he was speechless, Di Yujue could only endure the scolding. Who asked the other party to be his father-in-law? No matter what the other party said, he could only listen. Looking at their father's sullen appearance, Di Xiaofeng and Di Beichen couldn't help but look at each other. They wanted to help but couldn't. However, now that Beichen was back, everything was gradually getting better. When mother recovered, everything would be better. Di Linxian and Xia Wanrong immediately rushed over after hearing that Lin Wenlan and the others had come. Compared to the unhappiness when they met in the past, everyone's mood was undoubtedly much better this time. Old man Lin, we finally found Beichen. Now, we don't have to glare at each other as soon as we meet. Chapter 4609. In the beginning, the relationship between the two of them was quite good, but because of these things, they contacted less. Now that Beichen was back, the knot in their hearts could be completely untied. When Lin Wenlan came, she wanted to seek justice, but at this moment, she was only thinking about Di Beichen, and the joy in her eyes could not be concealed at all. Compared to this, nothing else was important. How is Yunqing now? Lin Wenlan asked aloud. Yunqing's condition is gradually improving, and Beichen's wife is now taking care of her. However, Yunqing's body is relatively weak, and she is worried that Beichen's sudden appearance will surprise her too much to bear, so she hasn't seen Beichen yet. However, according to Hong Zhuang, these 2 days will be enough. Xia Wanrong said with a smile. Beichen's wife? Yunishan's eyes lit up, and a strong excitement appeared on her face. Xia Wanrong walked to Yunishan's side and said with a smile, Hong Zhuang is a rare beauty, and she is also a very powerful doctor. Beichen's cursed body was cured by Hong Zhuang. If it weren't for Hong Zhuang, we wouldn't be able to see Beichen now. I didn't expect to have a granddaughter-in-law so soon. It's really a surprise. The joy on Yunishan's face became more and more intense. In the past few years, she and Xia Wanrong had the same thoughts, and they both hoped that Di Xiaofeng could get married soon. After all, as long as Di Xiaofeng got married and gave birth to a great-grandson, this would add a little joy to the family, and maybe Yunqing's mood would be eased after seeing her grandson. However, Di Xiaofeng didn't seem to have this idea, and they were very helpless. They didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, Beichen was already married, so how could they not be happy? Yes, as long as you see Hong Zhuang, you will like her very much. Xia Wanrong said, let's go to Yunqing's residence first. You should also see your granddaughter-in-law. As they spoke, Xia Wanrong and Yun Yishan walked forward together. There were always more topics to talk about between women. Wanrong, Beichen's constitution has already transformed into a heavenly mandate constitution, right? Yun Yishan and Xia Wanrong looked at each other, and a complicated look flashed across their eyes. Xia Wanrong nodded slightly with understanding in her eyes, but she did not say much on this topic. When Lin Wenlan and Di Linxian saw that Yun Yishan and Di Linxian had already set off, they followed behind them slowly. However, Lin Wenlan's attention was always on Di Beichen. He hadn't seen his grandson for so many years. Now, he just wanted to take a closer look at him, as if he couldn't get enough of him. Recently, Xiaofeng has always liked to stay outside. I haven't seen him many times. What do you think of him now? Have there been any rumors about him outside? Lin Yunqing's face rippled with a faint gentle smile as she asked Bailey Hongzhuang indirectly. Now, she liked Bailey Hongzhuang more and more. She only felt that if Bailey Hongzhuang could be her daughter-in-law, it would be the best thing. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't realize this, and only thought that Lin Yunqing was curious about Di Xiaofeng's situation outside these years. However, she also didn't know much about Di Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng is naturally a very good person. He is very loyal and has many friends. I just came to the upper realm from the lower realm not long ago, so I'm not very clear about many things. Chapter 4610. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the smile in Lin Yunqing's eyes gradually deepened. She was very confident in her son. Among the young talents of the younger generation, there would definitely be a place for Di Xiaofeng. Although old madam had mentioned many young ladies to her before, she wasn't sure what their characters were like. On the contrary, she was very satisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang in front of her. She was not picky at all. Although her body wasn't very good right now, her eyesight was still very good. With one look, she could tell that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't pretending. This girl's character and conduct were very good. The only thing was that she was from the lower realm. However, she did not have any family background, so she did not feel that it was a big problem. Just as they were talking, suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door. Lin Yunqing turned to look outside. However, as she was half lying on the bed, she could not see the real situation in the courtyard. She was curious about who had come at this time. My courtyard seems to be very lively today. Lin Yunqing's lips curled into a faint smile. Usually, her place was always quiet and almost no one came back. She did not expect many people to come over these 2 days. Bailey Hongzhuang was also puzzled as she looked outside, her heart filled with curiosity. Who would come at this time? Logically speaking, Beichen could not come to see mother now, so no one else should come. Just as the two of them were puzzled, the sound of footsteps came closer. Then, several figures appeared in front of them. Yunqing. Yun Yishan saw Lin Yunqing at first glance. She immediately walked over and stood by her bed. Bailey Hongzhuang did not know who had come, but when she saw that Di Linxian and Xia Wanrong had come, she knew that the madam in front of her was not ordinary. She immediately took a few steps back and gave up her position. Looking at Lin Yunqing's pale face, Yun Yishan's eyes were filled with heartache. She asked with concern, Yunqing, we haven't seen each other for a while. How did you become so weak? Mother, I'm fine. Lin Yunqing looked at Yun Yishan in surprise. Why are you and father here today? Your condition is already so serious. How can your father and I not come? Yun Yishan sighed, and she could not help but feel heartache as she said, Look at you, you've become so thin. Don't just think about yourself. You have to think about me and your father. If you're gone, what will your father and I do? Her daughter had never suffered much since she was young. She suddenly regretted that she shouldn't have spoiled her too much in the past. If it wasn't for that, perhaps she wouldn't have become like this. Hearing this, Lin Yunqing felt a little guilty. Mother, it was my fault. Yunishan shook her head and sighed, but she still couldn't bring herself to reprimand her daughter. She held her hand and said, you have to look on the bright side. Maybe you'll be reunited with Beichen one day. Reunite? Lin Yunqing was slightly stunned. The matter of Beichen's death was already set in stone. There was no such possibility. However, in the past 2 days, both Bailey Hongzhuang and Yun Yishan had mentioned this matter to her. Could it be that there was still a chance? Chapter 46:11. Hearing Lin Yunqing's words, Yun Yishan's expression changed a little. She could not help but look at Xia Wanrong and the others. She had accidentally brought up this topic, so she didn't know how to answer him. Seeing this, Di Xiaofeng quickly said, Mother, we went to Rong, a city where Beichen was previously to investigate, but we did not know for sure that Beichen had fallen. Therefore, we all feel that the situation might not be as bad as we thought. Beichen might still be alive. Is this true? Lin Yunqing was surprised and looked at Yunishan and the others with a burning gaze. Xia Wanrong smiled and said, it's true, so Yunqing, don't lose hope because of this. If Beichen comes back one day, you still have to welcome him. You're not lying to me? Lin Yunqing asked uncertainly. Previously, Di Kaiyuan had explained this matter clearly and completely destroyed the last trace of luck in her heart. It was because of this that she had fallen into deep despair. She did not expect everyone to give her a glimmer of hope now. Yunishan replied, why would we lie to you about this? Yunqing, this news is indeed true. Di Linxian also said. Hearing Di Linxuan's affirmative answer, the light in Lin Yunqing's eyes became brighter. With Di Linxuan's identity, he definitely would not lie to her. Thinking that Beichen might still be alive, she could not help but rejoice. Now, she did not have many extravagant wishes. The only thing she hoped for was that Beichen was still alive. That's good, that's good. Lin Yunqing heaved a sigh of relief. She only felt that her spirit was much better. When Diu Jue arrived, his gaze had always been on Lin Yunqing. During this period of time, he rarely appeared in front of Lin Yunqing. However, he would come to see her every night. When he saw Lin Yunqing's face that was getting thinner day by day, his heart ached. However, he noticed that Lin Yunqing's complexion was much better today, unlike her usual appearance. Suddenly, he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a trace of admiration and amazement. He had heard from Di Xiaofeng that Yunqing's condition was improving, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but sigh. He didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to have such outstanding medical skills at such a young age. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, most people wouldn't have believed it. Father, Mother, since you've come this time, stay here for a few more days. Lin Yunqing's eyes were filled with anticipation. She truly hoped that they could stay and accompany her. Hearing this, Lin Wenlan smiled and nodded. But this time, we were planning to stay here for a while. Their grandson and granddaughter-in-law had finally returned, so they naturally had to get along well. However, staying here for 1 or 2 days was obviously not enough. Moreover, they wanted to see Yunqing's body get better bit by bit and see Yunqing and Beichen reunite. Seeing that Lin Wenlan had agreed so readily, a trace of astonishment appeared in Lin Yunqing's eyes. In the past, when she had made such a request, Lin Wenlan basically wouldn't agree. Although the two families were in-laws, it wasn't a good thing to stay here for too long. She didn't expect her to agree so easily this time. However, on second thought, Lin Yunqing felt that it was because of her current condition. Chapter 46:12. After chatting with Lin Yunqing for a while, Yun Yishan turned her gaze to Bailey Hongzhuang. In fact, she had noticed Bailey Hongzhuang from the moment she stepped into the room. Such a beautiful woman was impossible to ignore. She was like the sun, an existence that people would notice at a glance. This feeling was as dazzling and eye-catching as when they first saw Di Beichen. As early as on the way here, Xia Wanrong had already told her that her granddaughter-in-law was taking care of Yunqing. Therefore, as long as she thought about it, she knew that this young and beautiful girl was Di Beichen's wife. What a beautiful lady! Yunishan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile, her gaze gentle and kind. Lin Yunqing's face was also filled with an appreciative smile. Mother, Yingying is really beautiful. When I first saw her, I couldn't believe that there was such a beautiful lady in this world. Yun Yishan nodded slightly. In fact, Lin Yunqing was also a rare beauty, but Lin Yunqing and Bailey Hongzhuang were two completely different types of beauty. Lin Yunqing's beauty was gentle, scholarly and reasonable, like an ink painting. Bailey Hongzhuang's beauty was incomparably exquisite, but there was also a trace of heroic spirit in her beauty, showing her strength and perseverance. Yun Yishan had seen countless people and could tell at a glance that although Bailey Hongzhuang was young, she had her own opinions. Although it was easy for people to treat her as a vase with her outstanding appearance, in fact, she had her own persistence and was definitely not just for show. I heard that it was because you took good care of Yunqing that her condition gradually improved. Yun Yishan stepped forward and took Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. What a good lady! Bailey Hongzhuang already knew that this was Di Beichen's grandmother. She secretly sighed in her heart. This was really a family with strong genes. Everyone was outstanding. This is what I should do. It must have been hard on you to take care of Yunqing. Yun Yishan smiled kindly, her gentle gaze filled with affection. This was the first time she had met Bailey Hongzhuang, but she had heard that Beichen's physique had been transformed by her. If it weren't for Bailey Hongzhuang, they would never have seen Beichen again. Therefore, she was very grateful to Bailey Hongzhuang. In fact, anyone who saw such an excellent and outstanding girl would like her. Lin Yunqing looked at her mother in surprise. She knew Yun Yishan's character very well. Logically speaking, even if Bailey Hongzhuang took good care of her, she would not be so kind. This attitude was completely inconsistent with her usual personality. However, when he thought about how he liked Bailey Hongzhuang inexplicably when he had just met her, perhaps his mother was in the same situation. Perhaps this was Bailey Hongzhuang's magic. She had a kind of magic that made people like her at first sight. Lin Wenlan was relieved when he saw that Lin Yunqing's condition was not as bad as he had thought. Looking at the situation, she was indeed gradually recovering. Old man Lin, you should be relieved now, right? Di Linxian said with a smile. Lin Wenlan nodded, but his expression was still solemn as usual. Back then, when I married Yunqing into your family, I wanted her to live a good life. Who would have thought that she would suffer so much all these years? Don't worry, it won't happen again, Di Linxian quickly said. Chapter 46:13. Everyone stayed in Lin Yunqing's room for a while before leaving. Bailey Hongzhuang also sent them out of the room. Di Beichen had been standing in the courtyard, so he could vaguely hear some of the voices in the room. When he heard that Lin Yunqing was still so concerned about his situation, his heart was gradually touched. He suddenly hoped to see Lin Yunqing soon and let her know that he was still alive so that she could be completely relieved. As soon as they arrived at the courtyard, Yun Yishan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. This is my precious granddaughter-in-law. Xia Wanrong smiled and nodded. Isn't she? You'll like her as soon as you see her, right? Indeed. Yun Yishan smiled kindly and brightly. One look and I can tell that she's a good girl. Beichen really has good taste. At the same time, Di Beichen also walked to Bailey Hongzhuang and said with a smile, Hongzhuang, this is grandfather and grandmother. Grandfather, grandmother. Bailey Hongzhuang bowed and greeted. Yun Yishan responded with satisfaction and reached out to help Bailey Hongzhuang up. What a good child. Lin Wenlan also looked at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. These two children really match each other when they stand together. Beichen, tell grandfather about your experience over the years. Over the years, we've been worried about whether you're doing well. Fortunately, you're very capable and came back safely. We're really happy. Lin Wenlan's gaze was soft and his voice was full of concern. From the moment he knew that Di Beichen had come back, his heart was boiling. That kind of excitement could not be expressed in words. However, he, who had always been serious, did not know how to express his feelings. He was just eager to know how Beichen had lived over the years. Yunqing still needs to rest. I think it's better to go to our place and have a good chat with Beichen. What do you think? Di Linxian said. Okay, Lin Wenlan agreed. Beichen just came back yesterday, and we didn't know the specific situation. Today, let's listen to Beichen's previous experience together, Xia Wanrong said with a smile. Everyone nodded. They were really curious about Beichen's past. What Diyu Jue had said before was just some general information. As for the specific situation, they were completely unaware. They had only found their precious grandson after so many years. It was impossible for them to participate in Di Beichen's previous life, but at least they hoped to know more about it. Di Beichen didn't have any objections. He understood that the elders in his family were very concerned about him, so he was naturally happy to talk about his past. Granddaughter-in-law, why don't you come with us? Yunishan held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at everyone and said with a smile, Grandmother, you all go ahead. I still have to take care of Mother. Hearing that, Yun Yishan frowned slightly. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and then looked at Lin Yunqing's house with a complicated expression. It's okay. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Grandfather and grandmother will stay here for a while. When Mother's condition improves, it won't be too late for us to talk about it together. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Yun Yishan and the others couldn't help but look more gentle. They didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so sensible. How could they not like her? Chapter 46:14. Hongzhuang is really a good girl. Yun Yishan and Xia Wanrong walked together and could not help but sigh with emotion. In fact, with the degree of love they had for their grandson, they must have certain requirements for their granddaughter-in-law. However, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, they could not find anything they were dissatisfied with. Yes. Xia Wanrong also nodded. Hongzhuang is not only very considerate, but also has outstanding medical skills. Although she is from the lower realm, she is not petty at all. On the contrary, there is a sense of generosity in her. Usually, according to their understanding, when a cultivator from the lower realm suddenly became the daughter-in-law of an aristocratic family from the upper realm, there must be a trace of worry and panic in her heart. However, since Bailey Hongzhuang came to the Di family, they could not see this problem from her at all. On the contrary, Bailey Hongzhuang had always been neither servile nor overbearing. She did not feel weak because of her background, nor did she think highly of herself because of her family's kindness to Beichen. All of her performances were full of generosity. She was very polite to the elders and very considerate to Yunqing. All of these performances made them very satisfied. It is indeed very good that Beichen can find such a wife, but Yunishan looked at Xia Wanrong with a complicated expression. They had to face the problem in this. Xia Wanrong shook her head slightly. That matter is indeed very troublesome, but since it has come to this, let's just forget about it. Hearing this, Yunishan sighed. In the current situation, this is indeed the only way, but the consequences may be a little troublesome. There is no other way. Xia Wanrong looked determined. It was as if she had already made up her mind. Beichen's return is already the happiest thing for us. Moreover, Hongzhuang's family has a great debt of gratitude to Beichen. We must not let Hongzhuang suffer. Di Linxian also thinks so? Yunishan could not help but ask. Yes, he values these debts of gratitude the most, so he has already made up his mind. Hearing this, Yunishan nodded. That's right. I also think that we should do that. As for the consequences, although it's troublesome, we can bear it. Many things are unavoidable. However, since things have come to this point, we can only do our best to minimize the impact. Di Beichen walked beside Diyu Jue. It was only now that Diyu Jue had a chance to talk to him properly. Beichen, are you used to living here? Diyu Jue asked with concern in his eyes. It's pretty good. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Everyone prepared a place for us to stay. How could we not get used to it? Hongzhuang and I both like it very much. That's good. Diyu Jue smiled. If there's anything you're not used to, just tell us. We'll definitely help you solve it. You are a member of the Di family, the second young master of the Di family. Please don't treat me like an outsider. I understand. Di Beichen replied. When I was in the lower realm, I didn't expect you to be the person I've been looking for. It's really fate. Diyu Jue could not help but sigh. When he first met Di Beichen, he had a very strange feeling. He did not expect that there was a blood relationship between them. Chapter 46:15. Suddenly hearing Di Beichen's words, Diu Jue was also slightly stunned. Then his expression softened, and his heart was filled with joy and gratitude. Although he knew that his son had forgiven him from the moment Di Beichen called him father, the worry in his heart had never dissipated. If it weren't for his negligence back then, the other party wouldn't have had the opportunity to take advantage of him, and Beichen wouldn't have been away for so many years. Therefore, when he spoke to Di Beichen, he was always cautious and wasn't as comfortable as when he spoke to Xia Wanrong and the others. At this moment, when he suddenly heard these words, he knew that Beichen was comforting him and telling him not to worry about the past. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile. Okay. Di Beichen smiled. The past is the past. The most important thing is that our family will be together in the future. That's right. Diu Jue nodded. We are still investigating what happened back then. As long as we find Di Kaiyuan's accomplice, we will definitely punish them severely. Beichen forgave him, but the murderer must be caught and severely punished. Since he dared to attack the direct descendant of the Di family, he must definitely make the other party pay a heavy price. Not only did the other party attack me, but they also attacked Big Brother. This matter indeed needs to be investigated thoroughly. Di Beichen's voice was slightly heavy. He already knew about Di Kaiyuan's matter, but his thoughts were the same as Di Xiaofeng and Diu Jue. This matter was definitely not as simple as it seemed. Compared to Di Kaiyuan, the accomplice might be the instigator. If they didn't find the other party, they would always be in a mystery. Indeed, there was a trace of haze between Di Xiaofeng's brows. The incident back then was still vivid in his mind. If it wasn't for his strength being stronger than the other party estimated, he would have died back then. Father, have you found out anything about this matter? Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but ask. Kaiyuan is already dead. It's very difficult to investigate this matter now. I investigated based on the people Kaiyuan often contacted before, but the other party was very secretive. I could only find a few clues. Now that I've set my sights on the Jun family, they're most likely the ones who want to make a move on the Di family. Di Xiaofeng's expression darkened. The Jun family has always been dissatisfied with our Di family's resources. Coupled with Beichen's cursed body, they are most likely the culprits. What does my cursed body have to do with them? Di Beichen was puzzled. He had heard of the Jun family from Di Xiaofeng before, but why was it related to his physique? Beichen, you just came back, so you don't know enough about the family situation. I'll tell you everything in the next few days, Diu Jue said. All right. Di Beichen nodded. He also understood that this was not the right time to talk about this in detail. However, he did need to understand all of this. Whether it was enemies, friends, or the situation, he needed to know. And now, it was obvious that the elders were more curious about his growth and life over the years. After Lin Wenlan and the others arrived, Lin Yunqing's mood was clearly better. Madam, you seem to be in a good mood. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at Lin Yunqing. She could clearly feel that Lin Yunqing was in a very good state. Chapter 46:16. Madam, it's good that you're willing to think this way. You must maintain a good mood and your body will gradually get better. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shone brightly. She didn't expect everything to go so smoothly. Originally, he thought that even if he and Di Xiaofeng tried to persuade Lin Yunqing, it would be difficult for Lin Yunqing's heart to recover. But now, everything was developing in a good direction. This heart disease was both a serious and minor illness. As long as Lin Yunqing thought it through, she would recover very quickly. Lin Yunqing smiled gently and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Ying, ever since you came, I feel that my heart has relaxed a lot. That's good. The next day, when Bailey Hongzhuang came to Lin Yunqing's courtyard again, she found that her spirit had improved. It was much better than when she first saw her. Thinking that Beichen had always wanted to see Lin Yunqing, she thought that there shouldn't be any problems with her current state. Seeing the smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Lin Yunqing's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. She couldn't help but ask, Ying, what's the good news today? You seem to be very happy. Madam, I want to give you a surprise today. Hearing this, Lin Yunqing was astonished and a trace of curiosity appeared on her face. What surprise? You'll know when you see it. Bailey Hongzhuang winked and kept her in suspense. This child, you're actually keeping me in suspense. Although Lin Yunqing said this, the smile on her face didn't decrease at all. The sun is just right today. Madam has been staying in the room every day, so it's time for you to go out and bask in the sun. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at Lin Yunqing. How about I help you out? Lin Yunqing looked at the weather outside. She indeed hadn't gone out to bask in the sun for a long time. Perhaps it was a good idea to go out and bask in the sun. Seeing that Lin Yunqing agreed, Bailey Hongzhuang helped her out of the room. However, when Lin Yunqing walked out of the house, she found that all her family members were gathered in the courtyard, looking at her with smiles on their faces. Seeing this scene, Lin Yunqing could not help but be stunned. Her eyes flashed with deep astonishment. Why are all of you here? Everyone looked at Lin Yunqing with a smile but did not answer. Their gazes then fell on Bewitching. Noticing the change in everyone's gazes, Lin Yunqing also looked at Bewitching. The moment she saw Bewitching, her body trembled, and her eyes quickly reddened. Her gaze was tightly focused on Bewitching, filled with disbelief and ecstasy. This is Beichen? Lin Yunqing subconsciously looked at Diyujue, her voice trembling with surprise and worry. She was worried that everything in front of her was an illusion. She was worried that she was seeing things. Diyujue smiled and nodded. That's right. Hearing Dijue's affirmative answer, Lin Yunqing could not help but cover her mouth with her hand. She almost cried out in surprise, but her tears instantly burst out. Mother, I'm back. From the moment Lin Yunqing appeared, Bewitching's gaze fell on her. This was the first time he saw his mother. Previously, when he was outside the house, he could only hear her voice. He had also fantasized about his mother's appearance. At this moment, seeing her, he felt a sense of familiarity in his heart. Chapter 46:17. Lin Yunqing walked towards Bewitching with teary eyes. Her tears had blurred her vision, but that figure was deeply imprinted in her heart. You're still alive. Lin Yunqing's trembling voice was filled with indescribable joy. The corners of her eyes were filled with tears, but the corners of her lips could not help but curl upwards. At the same time, Bewitching quickly stepped forward and stood in front of Lin Yunqing. Lin Yunqing stretched out her hands and Bewitching stepped forward. This was a long-awaited hug. A faint medicinal fragrance wafted into Bewitching's nostrils. His mother's body was very soft and her entire body exuded a warm aura. It was as if being by her side gave him an indescribable sense of security. Her delicate appearance made him want to protect her even more. Beichen, my son, you're back? Lin Yunqing sobbed, but her eyes were unprecedentedly bright. Her entire being seemed to have gained a soul in an instant, and her previous gloominess disappeared in an instant. Yes, I'm back. The corners of Bewitching's lips curled upwards. His handsome face was as warm as the rising sun. That's great. Lin Yunqing was pleasantly surprised. She hugged Bewitching tightly as if he would disappear if she were to let go. Is all of this real? Am I dreaming? She could not help but ask. However, when they heard Lin Yunqing's words, no one laughed at her. In fact, when they had first met Bewitching, they had felt the same way. They were worried that this was all just a dream. Yunqing, don't worry. Beichen is really back. He won't leave again. Diyujue walked to Lin Yunqing's side and comforted her. Mother, you're not dreaming. That's good. Lin Yunqing casually wiped the tears off her face. She could not care less about her sorry state. Her eyes were fixed on Bewitching and she could not bear to look away. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Madam, are you satisfied with this surprise? Hearing this, Lin Yunqing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, You did it on purpose. Hongzhuang, you have to change the way you address her now. Xia Wanrong couldn't help but laugh when she heard how Bailey Hongzhuang addressed Lin Yunqing. Bailey Hongzhuang paused for a moment, then smiled. Lin Yunqing couldn't help but turn her head to look at Bailey Hongzhuang in confusion, only to hear Bailey Hongzhuang call out, Mother. She was stunned at first, then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. She then looked at the crowd and said, This is my daughter-in-law? That's right. She's Beichen's wife, Hong Zhuang. Du Jue's gaze was gentle and loving as he patiently explained. So you're not Ying? Mother, your health wasn't good before. We were worried that too big of a surprise would stimulate you, so we used this method. I hope you can forgive us. Lin Yunqing finally understood. So that's how it is. You're my daughter-in-law. That's great. She had always wanted to pair Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Hongzhuang together. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be Di Beichen's wife. However, it was fine as long as she was her daughter-in-law. Yunqing, it's time for the knot in your heart to be untied. Di Linxian slowly said. Lin Wenlan also nodded slightly. Yunqing, now that everyone is reunited, you can rest assured. Take good care of your body and don't take things too hard. I know. Lin Yunqing was full of smiles. At this moment, her heart was on Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. As long as they were back, what else could she not let go of? Chapter 46:18. Beichen, how have you been all these years? They had sent people to deal with you previously. Were you hurt? After the pleasant surprise, countless questions surfaced in Lin Yunqing's mind. She immediately asked them one after another. Di Beichen held Lin Yunqing's hand and the smile on his face did not diminish. Mother, I'm fine. Don't worry. You, on the other hand, I heard that you don't eat properly. You can't do that in the future. Promise me, okay? Hearing this, Lin Yunqing smiled and nodded. All right, I'll promise you anything. Yunqing, you really need to take good care of your body now. Otherwise, when you have grandchildren in the future, you'll have to help take care of them. This won't do, Xia Wanrong said with a smile. Lin Yunqing immediately looked at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang in pleasant surprise. Her eyes were bright and resplendent. Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly taken aback. Then her cheeks flushed red. She never thought that her grandmother would bring this up in front of so many people. Beichen, do you think I'm right? Xia Wanrong said with a smile. Di Beichen glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang and smiled. I'll work hard. Everyone laughed. If Bailey Hongzhuang could give birth to a baby, it would be a joyous occasion for their family. In an instant, the entire Di family was immersed in a joyous atmosphere. News of the return of the Di family's second young master quickly spread. Instantly, many families began to know that the Di family's second young master, who had been left outside, had finally returned. On this day, just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to rest, Xiao Hei's pleasantly surprised voice sounded. Master, Baisher is awake. Ever since Baisher had devoured the bloodline, he had been in a deep sleep. Everyone had waited for a long time, but Baisher had not awakened. Hearing this news, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately entered the primordial chaos ring. Sure enough, Baisher had awakened. Bailey Hongzhuang sensed Baisher's aura and could not help but exclaim, Baisher, your aura has become much stronger. Di Beichen also said, White Lion, your aura is probably close to the nebula realm, right? Starlight realm, nebula realm. Previously, Baisher was only at the starlight realm. Although he wasn't far from the starlight realm, he still needed some time to break through to the starlight realm. However, Baisher's aura was already close to the nebula realm. This improvement was too shocking. White Lion smiled and nodded. That's right. I'm only a step away from the nebula realm. White Lion, isn't your improvement a little too shocking? Xiao Hei looked at White Lion in disbelief. Previously, they were evenly matched in strength. How did it become so much stronger in the blink of an eye? After devouring the bloodline, my bloodline has improved and become even pure. It's far from what it used to be. Not only that, but my potential has also increased. My cultivation speed will be faster than before. Devouring the bloodline was a shortcut for demonic beasts to increase their strength. Moreover, through devouring the bloodline, they could continuously improve their own bloodline and become a higher-tier demonic beast. A beast king's level was already very high. However, through devouring the bloodline, they could continuously evolve. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Then this is a good idea for you. If the White Lion could continue to evolve, its future achievements would be very terrifying. Chapter 46:19. Transform into a human? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up with anticipation. She had always known that mystical beasts could transform into a human once they reached a certain level of cultivation. However, she did not know the exact details of this level. She never thought that White Lion would be able to transform into a human so quickly. I wonder what White Lion will look like in human form. Xiao He propped up her round chin with one hand. Her eyes flashed with curiosity and a thoughtful light. I think that White Lion will look pretty good in human form. Perhaps he'll even look very dignified. After all, he's a beast king, so he's naturally dignified, Xiao Bai said thoughtfully. That's not necessarily true, is it? Xiao He frowned. Do you remember how adorable White Lion used to be? Perhaps he'll turn into a little Shoda. I think that'll suit his characteristics quite well. Master, what do you think? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at White Lion in front of her and thought for a moment before saying, I think that White Lion will look very handsome in human form. White Lion had indeed been very adorable when he had first become her pet beast. Now, White Lion has the might of a beast king. Just by looking at him now, one could tell that he was very handsome. He would definitely stand out among mystical beasts. White Lion smiled when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. His master was so kind to him. Now that we have White Dragon in our team and White Lion who has grown stronger, our battle power is much stronger than before. The corners of Bewitching's lips curled into a warm smile. Everything was progressing in a good direction. Good news came one after another. It was truly delightful. Everyone could not help but look at Bai Long. Now, Bai Long could be said to be the strongest among them. White Dragon had been very calm ever since he had awakened. Even though he and Xiao He would often complain about each other whenever they were together, White Dragon was always deep in thought most of the time. Clearly, White Dragon had been trying to retrieve her lost memories. It was just that she had not been able to do so in such a short time. In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang was also unable to help. Bai Long had stayed there for too long, and her memories were sealed. Therefore, even if she was a doctor, it was useless. She did have some understanding of seals, but to be able to seal the White Dragon's memories, the other party's strength could be said to be extremely strong. With her current strength, it was obvious that she could not break it. Family banquet. All of the direct descendants of the D family had arrived. Even some of the branch family leaders had also arrived. As the second young master of Bewitching's clan, many clansmen didn't know what he looked like before. Taking this opportunity, everyone should have some knowledge about this second young master. Although a family banquet had been held before, it was only for members of the direct line of descent. At that time, Di Linxian and the others were immersed in the surprise of Bewitching's return and did not have the mood to introduce the family members to Bewitching. Bewitching, welcome back. A young man walked up to Bewitching. He was about the same age as Di Xiaofeng and was slightly older than Bewitching. He was wearing dark green clothes and had a dignified appearance. There was a polite smile on his face, and he gave off a refreshing feeling. Looking at the man in front of him, Bewitching felt a bit confused. He did not know who this person was, but he still smiled and replied, "Thank you." At this moment, Di Xiaofeng walked over and said, "Bewitching, let me introduce you. This is the second elder's son, Daiheon." Chapter 46:20. Xiaofeng, you're flattering me. Daiheon quickly waved his hand. You've always been so humble. Everyone has seen your performance over the years. Di Xiaofeng's face was full of smiles. He seemed to be very familiar with Daiheon. Noticing Di Xiaofeng's reaction, Bewitching looked at Daiheon with kindness. Since Di Xiaofeng thought so highly of him, he must be a good helper for the family. You're too kind. Daiheon cupped his hands. I'm just doing what I should do. Bewitching, I was still dealing with things outside. After hearing the news of your return, I rushed back as soon as possible. Seeing you today, I can tell that you're not simple. You're overpraising me. Bewitching smiled faintly. Although I just came back, I know that I have a lot of shortcomings compared to everyone. If there's anything I don't do well in the future, I hope you can remind me. You don't have to worry too much about this. With your ability, you'll be able to do it very soon. Daiheoan quickly said. Di Xiaofeng also smiled and nodded. That's right. When you were in the lower realm, you were a rare genius. The reason why there's a gap between your cultivation and ours is because you don't have enough cultivation resources. Now that you've returned to the family, you'll be able to catch up soon. That's right. Beichen, you talk to Haoan first. I'll go over. With that, Di Xiaofeng walked to the other side. Di Beichen chatted with Daiheoan. After listening to the latter's introduction, he had a better understanding of the family's situation. In the process of this conversation, he found that Daiheoan's personality was indeed excellent. He was not anxious and his voice was clear and steady. No matter what it was, he was very patient and explained everything patiently, making people willing to befriend him. From this point, he could imagine that Di Haoan must have an extremely good relationship with people in the clan. Beichen, your eyes is here, Daiheoan said as he looked at the figures slowly approaching. Hearing this, Di Beichen also looked at the newcomer. He saw that the newcomer was wearing a dark blue robe. His appearance was also quite outstanding, but he seemed more reserved. Jirais? Jirais is the son of the third elder. He is 2 years older than me. His cultivation is very outstanding, and he is also very famous in the family. Daiheoan introduced. Di Beichen finally understood. So that's how it is. So you're Beichen. There was a faint smile on Di Jirais' face, but it didn't enter his eyes. I've heard that your most outstanding feature is your appearance. Originally, in this family, Xiaofeng was the most handsome. As his younger brother, you really are similar in this aspect. Although it was a compliment, it made Di Beichen's eyes darken a bit. On the surface, Di Jirais was praising him for his handsome appearance, but in reality he was saying that he only had good looks. Perhaps for a woman, having an outstanding appearance was a compliment, but for a man, it was obviously not so. Daiheoan obviously understood Di Jirais' meaning. His expression was somewhat awkward, and he couldn't help but smile and smooth things over. The master and madam were a perfect match, so Xiaofeng and Beichen are both first-class handsome men. As a man, so what if you have an outstanding appearance? Di Jirais didn't care. The most important thing is your own strength. Otherwise, everything is nonsense. Chapter 46:21. Jiais, Beichen has been away all these years, so his cultivation level is naturally a little weaker than the others. But if it were us, we might not be able to catch up to Beichen in the lower realm. Daiheoan said. Di Jiais smiled faintly and spread out his hands. I didn't say anything, I just reminded Beichen that he can't immerse himself in glory after coming back, he has to cultivate properly. Is there a problem with that? Then thank you for your reminder. Di Beichen's expression was gentle, but he was not angry. He had suddenly returned, so naturally he would take up other people's resources, so it was not strange for such a situation to occur. Seeing that Di Beichen did not take this matter to heart, Di Jiais was a little bored, so he found an excuse and left. Beichen, Jirais has always been like this, sometimes his words are not very nice, please don't take it to heart. Daiheoan comforted. Di Beichen smiled and waved his hand. It's okay, he is telling the truth, I am aware of this. Actually, it doesn't matter, we are still so young, there is still a long time in the future. With your talent, it is only a matter of time before you catch up. When Bailey Hongzhuang came over, she heard Daiheoan's words, and immediately looked at the latter with a trace of surprise and gentleness. Although she did not know this person, for him to say such words to Beichen, he must be a very good person. This is Hongzhuang, right? Daiheoan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in amazement. I have long heard that sister-in-law is a rare beauty, you really live up to your reputation. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly, you flatter me. I am telling the truth, I have seen many beauties in these years, but it is the first time I have seen a beauty like sister-in-law. Daiheoan sighed, since sister-in-law is here, I will not disturb you. After Daiheoan left, Bailey Hongzhuang learned of Daiheoan's name from Di Beichen's introduction. Not long after, Di Xiaofeng came back and smiled. How is it? Haoan is a gentle person, he is easy to get along with. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Indeed. He has always been like this, so he is very popular in the family. Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly, but I just noticed that Haoan also came over. Did he say something unpleasant? Without Di Beichen's reply, Di Xiaofeng had already guessed it. Zhai's is actually like that. I have gotten used to it over the years, but although he is a bit arrogant, he is also wholeheartedly for the family. Did my return this time affect his interests? Di Beichen looked at Di Xiaofeng. If I didn't come back, would the next head of the family be him? Hearing Di Beichen's words, Di Xiaofeng was slightly taken aback, then revealed a look of admiration. Beichen, you are really smart. I didn't plan to tell you this, but since you have already guessed it, then I will say it directly. You know my situation. I will definitely inherit the Lin family in the future, and the Di family must also have someone to inherit. Although grandfather didn't say it before, the heir must be chosen from the outstanding young people in the family. Chapter 46-22. Actually, the strongest person is Zhai's, but I feel that if the clansmen were to choose, it would be Haoan, Di Xiaofeng said slowly. Hearing this, Di Beichen nodded slightly. Haoan has a good personality and is very popular. If his strength is similar to Zhai's, then he is more likely to be the head of the family. As the head of the family, strength was only one aspect. One's personality was also very important. One must consider everything from the family's interests and not just oneself. Zhai's was arrogant and valued his own interests more. On the other hand, Dai Haoan was more magnanimous. That's right. Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly. Zhai's is just unhappy for a while. It's inevitable that he will have some complaints. Don't take it to heart. He's not a bad person. It's just that his words are a bit irritating. Sometimes, I get into arguments with him because of some things, but we are all part of the Di family. I understand. After hearing the conversation between the two, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows suddenly showed a trace of surprise. Is Haoan also one of the candidates? I don't see any dissatisfaction from his behavior. That's Haoan's personality. He doesn't care much about these things. Usually, he doesn't compete for cultivation resources that are related to his own cultivation. In fact, his personality is very similar to the second elder. No matter what it is, as long as it's good for the family, he will do it wholeheartedly. He doesn't care about hard work and tiring work at all. Di Xiaofeng sighed. It was because of this that everyone in the family liked the second elder. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. From what she knew so far, the Di family was indeed a family that got along very well. Although some friction was inevitable, everyone was basically doing it for the good of the family. In the future, you will know when you stay in the family for a long time. In fact, there are no big problems. Everyone gets along very well. However, after the incident with Di Kaiyuan, I think everyone should be more careful. Di Xiaofeng's expression was complicated. We never thought that there would be a traitor in the family. Especially when we found out that the traitor was the steward, we were all shocked. If a person is going to disguise himself, he will probably do it very well, so I think we should all be careful. However, there's no need to worry about those close to you. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen couldn't help but look at each other. It seemed that Di Xiaofeng's mind had become more meticulous than before after experiencing the previous incident. In fact, this was also a good development. After all, with their status, there were definitely many people who wanted to gain benefits from them. It was better to be safe than sorry. Only by being careful could they ensure their own safety. Just as they were talking, a commotion suddenly came from not far away. It was a bit noisy, but there was also a voice they were familiar with. That direction should be where Bai Shi and the others are. Bailey Hongzhuang looked in the direction of the sound. She had come from there before. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, Bai Shi, and Bai Long were all eating snacks there. There's suddenly a commotion now. Could it be that something happened there? Let's go and take a look, Di Beichen said. Chapter 46-23. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived, they saw Bai Long looking at Dai Haoan coldly. I said, "Stay away from me." Dai Haoan looked at Bai Long in shock. He didn't expect the situation to turn out like this. "Miss, I'm sorry, what happened?" Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bai Long looking at the situation. It was obvious that she had a conflict with Dai Haoan, and she had directly attacked him. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's question, Ling said, "This person is a lecher." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned and looked at each other. Based on their interactions with Dai Haoen, it was difficult to associate him with a lecher. Dai Haoen, what's wrong? Di Xiaofeng frowned. Being called a lecher by a girl was not a light crime. If all of this was true, Dai Haoen would definitely be severely punished because the Di family would never allow such a situation to happen. Dai Haoen's expression was nervous and complicated. Even his voice was a bit flustered. "I just wanted to get to know this girl. I didn't expect." "Get to know what?" "I don't want to know you." Ling said coldly. Seeing this, Di Beichen looked directly at Xiao He and Xiao Bai. The words of these two people were not very clear. It was better to understand the truth from the words of bystanders. From Xiao He and Xiao Bai's explanation, everyone understood. It turned out that when Dai Haoen first saw Ling he was shocked and admired her. Thus, he wanted to get to know Ling. However, Ling didn't want to get to know him, so she didn't pay attention to his question. If it was someone else, they would have given up. However, Dai Haoen really wanted to get to know Ling, so he ignored her coldness. Instead, he took a step closer and wanted to pat her on the shoulder. Unfortunately, just turned around and Dai Haoen's hand touched her chest. The situation suddenly became a lot more complicated. After knowing all of this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had complicated expressions. According to this, it was indeed a bit difficult to explain. Dai Haoen did not do it on purpose. However, from Ling Er's point of view, this behavior could indeed be called lecher. "Miss Ling I'm really sorry. I was rude just now." Dai Haoen repeatedly cupped his hands, looking nervous and worried. "What do you want me to do to appease you? No matter what you say, I'm willing to do it." However, Ling only looked at Dai Haoen coldly, her eyes full of disgust. "In my opinion, there is indeed some misunderstanding in this matter, but Hao really did wrong. Miss Ling, please calm down. Don't be angry and hurt your body." Di Xiaofeng tried to mediate. This was the only thing he could do. "Just make him disappear from my sight now." Ling's eyes were still full of disgust. She did not want to see Dai Haoen again. Seeing this, Dai Haoen still wanted to say something, but Di Xiaofeng directly persuaded him to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang also walked to Ling's side and said, "Ling, calm down. How? And probably didn't do it on purpose." Ling Er's expression was cold until Dai Haoen's figure disappeared. Then she said, "He's not a good person." Chapter 46-24. Not a bad person? Ling sneered, "You're too naive. I think this person is just a hypocrite. He's not a good person at all." Little Black sighed, "How can it be as exaggerated as you say? I saw what happened just now. He didn't do it on purpose. It's just that the timing was bad. If you're so sure that he's a bad person just because of this, then you're being too decisive." "It's not about that." Ling Er's clear voice sounded ethereal. "This is just my intuition. Anyway, I don't think he's a good person." Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others smiled helplessly. After this incident, Ling Er's impression of Dai Haoen was terrible. However, from Dai Haoen's behavior, he seemed to have developed feelings for Ling. As a result, the situation became very complicated. "Ling, this is the first time you've seen Dai Haoen. Maybe you'll change your mind in the future." Xiao Bai couldn't help but say. "It's up to you to believe it or not." Ling obviously couldn't be bothered to say more about this matter. She turned around and went back to her room. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Linger's back as she left and shook her head helplessly. However, she didn't say anything. In fact, an ordinary woman wouldn't be able to accept something like this. It was normal for Ling to have such a reaction. If she was in Ling shoes, she would definitely be very angry. At this moment, everyone knew about the cultivation area in the courtyard. Other than the cultivation room with abundant vitality, there were also lightning rooms, ice rooms, and other attribute cultivation rooms that were suitable for cultivators. However, when the cultivators of the D family found out that D Beichen had a darkness attribute innate talent, everyone's expression became complicated. "Beichen, are you really of the dark attribute?" Yujue looked at Bewitching in astonishment. It wasn't that there hadn't been a practitioner of the dark attribute in their family, but there had never been one among the direct descendants. Bewitching nodded slightly. That's right. When I awakened my innate talent, it was indeed of the dark attribute. Actually, there's nothing wrong with the darkness attribute. It's just that everyone has some prejudice against the power of darkness. Additionally, the cultivation method for the darkness attribute has been lost. I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to improve your strength. Lin Xian's expression was complicated. To a cultivator, the limitless potential in the future was undoubtedly the most important. From their point of view, it didn't matter what element Bewitching had. However, even the D family didn't have any dark elemental training methods. Without a cultivation method, even with Bewitching's Heaven's Mandate physique, it would be very difficult for him to improve at the later stages. Lin Wenlan's eyes revealed a pondering expression. My Lin family does have some related items. However, the level isn't high. I'm afraid it's not suitable. Hearing Lin Wenlan's words, Lin Xian and the others were astonished. They didn't expect the Lin family to have something related to the dark attribute. Although they were a big family, others wouldn't dare to say anything even if they had such items. However, most people wouldn't say anything. Since Lin Wenlan was willing to say it, it proved that she trusted them. Looking at the worried expressions of the elders, Bewitching couldn't help but smile. Grandfather, you don't have to worry. I have both cultivation methods and martial skills. Chapter 46-25. Yujue's gaze suddenly froze as if he had thought of something. Did you obtain the inheritance in the lower realm? If it wasn't for this inheritance, he would have found Bewitching long ago. There wouldn't have been any trouble at all. However, at that time, he only thought of it as an ordinary inheritance and didn't think too much about it. However, if there was a complete cultivation method for the dark attribute, then this inheritance wasn't just an ordinary inheritance. Bewitching nodded slightly. Yes, I obtained the complete inheritance there. I see. The people who were still a little worried suddenly relaxed a little. Although the dark attribute cultivators would inevitably be criticized by others, they were actually quite open-minded. In this world, strength was number one. As long as one was strong enough, so what if one's attribute was rejected by others? Moreover, compared to some people who cultivated sinister cultivation methods, this was nothing at all. It might be more difficult for the dark attribute cultivators to survive in the outside world, but in the aristocratic families, this wasn't a big deal. Since you've obtained your own inheritance, then we can rest assured. Lin Xuan's face revealed a smile. After a few days of getting along, he was more and more satisfied with Bewitching. Although Bewitching wasn't in the family all these years, Sect Master Sidhu obviously nurtured him very well. He was neither arrogant nor rash, calm and hardworking. Even when he returned to the D family, he didn't show any arrogance. Not only that, Bailey Hongzhuang was also very satisfactory. He believed that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang would soon become very outstanding among the younger generation. Bewitching, since you have the dark attribute, what is Hongzhuang's attribute? Xia Wanrong asked. Hongzhuang has the light attribute. Light attribute. Xia Wanrong's eyes lit up and a hint of surprise appeared in her eyes. Among the many attributes, the light attribute is the rarest. I didn't expect Hongzhuang to have the rare light attribute. Yunishan was also a little shocked. This attribute could be said to be 1 in 1,000. Bewitching smiled. Indeed, but in fact, Hongzhuang and I seem to have awakened 2 attributes. After thinking about it, Bewitching decided to tell his family about it. They were all family members who were worthy of his trust. They were wholeheartedly looking out for him, so he naturally had nothing to hide. On the other hand, he and Hongzhuang did not understand the nature of these attributes. Perhaps they could find an explanation here. 2 attributes? As Bewitching's voice fell, the audience fell into silence. Everyone's expression changed slightly, and their expressions were full of shock. Both of you? Bewitching nodded slightly. That's right. We haven't been in the upper realm for long, so we don't know much about this situation. This is just the result that both of us have determined. When they first awakened their talents, they relied on guesses about this situation. However, after cultivating, they confirmed that they could indeed cultivate 2 attributes. I heard that there have been cultivators who have awakened more than 1 attribute in the past. They later became extremely powerful. However, this situation is too rare. It's 1 in 10,000, so very few people know about it, Di Lin Xian said slowly. I've also heard about this. However, it's really surprising that Beichen and Hong Zhuang have 2 attributes. Chapter 46-26. Di Beichen didn't know how to explain this. In fact, when he and Hong Zhuang found out about this, they also felt that it was very strange. However, other than coincidence, there was no other explanation. Beichen, the family has a talent testing device. Why don't you test it for us here? Di Lin Xian suggested. There was only him, Xia Wanrong, Lin Wenlan, Yunishan, Di Yujue, and Di Xiaofeng here. They were all direct relatives, so there was no need to guard against them. Okay. Di Beichen agreed without hesitation. Soon, the innate talent tester was ready. Di Beichen placed both of his hands on the innate talent tester, and his elemental energy instantly surged out. Then, the transparent innate talent tester began to flash with light. It was an extremely dense black color, like ink that couldn't be dissolved. Noticing this, Di Yujue and the others understood that Di Beichen indeed had the dark attribute. However, when the black color reached a certain level, everyone exclaimed in their hearts. Extreme dark attribute talent. Di Lin Xian's face was filled with emotion. It's actually 100% extreme. With such a strong talent, coupled with the dark attribute cultivation method, his cultivation speed will definitely be extraordinary. They were very clear that the level of talent meant potential. The higher the level, the faster the cultivation speed, and the greater the potential. On the contrary, if one's talent wasn't strong enough, they would only need to double the time to cultivate. Naturally, they wouldn't be able to compare to cultivators with high talent. Based on the current situation, as long as Di Beichen didn't die, there would be a dark attribute powerhouse in the Di family in the future. If this is only the dark attribute, what about the light attribute? Di Xiaofeng was a little curious. Before Beichen mentioned this matter, he had never heard of such a possibility. If all of this was true, then his brother's talent was really terrifying. Just as Di Xiaofeng asked this question, everyone noticed that a bright white light gradually appeared in the darkness of the talent testing device. In the dense darkness, the white light was especially obvious, bright and shining. Then, the white light gradually grew stronger, like sunlight illuminating the darkness. Di Beichen was surprised to find that the white light this time was much denser than before, presumably because he had started cultivating the light energy. It really is the light attribute. Yunishan's face was filled with shock. This light attribute isn't weak either. It's just that Beichen's talent in the darkness attribute is stronger. 2 innate attributes, darkness and light at that. This is too inconceivable. Xia Wanrong had a puzzled look. This kind of thing was simply unheard of. If it hadn't happened in front of her, she wouldn't have believed it. Beichen, is Hong Zhuang in the same situation as you? Di Yujue asked. Di Beichen nodded slightly. That's right. It's just that our order is reversed. Then how are you cultivating now? Now that we are cultivating both attributes at the same time, we haven't encountered any major problems in the process. Di Beichen recalled the cultivation process. Cultivating both attributes at the same time, other than spending more time, was not a big deal. It seems that you and Hong Zhuang are both rare geniuses, Di Lin Xian said seriously. We don't know much about this. Go back and check the ancient books to see if there are any records about this. Chapter 46-27. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Once Di Lin Xian finished speaking, everyone nodded. No matter how they looked at it, it was an extremely powerful innate gift. Once they cultivated both attributes, it meant that they would have twice as many tricks up their sleeves as ordinary cultivators. Twice as many. When experts fought, it was usually just a difference of one move. With twice as many tricks up their sleeves, it was basically impossible for anyone of the same level to be a match for them. Just thinking about it, everyone could understand how terrifying this innate gift was. Don't spread this news for now. Wait until we have a better understanding of this situation, Lin Wenlan said solemnly. In every family, geniuses were protected. Before they grew to a certain level, it was best not to let others know about them. Otherwise, there would be many ways to kill them before they matured. What's more, Bewitching had just returned to the clan. After the news spread out, he had become a figure in the limelight. It was not known how many people wanted to see him. If others knew about his innate gift, he would definitely be targeted. Bewitching, tell Hong Zhuang to take note of this as well. Di Lin Xian instructed. I will. Yes, Di Beichen responded. Bailey Hong Zhuang was supposed to come along today. However, as Lin Yunqing's body was still recuperating, she had been accompanying Lin Yunqing whenever she was free. Lin Yunqing's fondness for Bailey Hong Zhuang had been shown since the beginning. Now that Bailey Hong Zhuang was accompanying her, Lin Yunqing's body was recovering rapidly. According to their estimation, she should be able to make a full recovery within a month. Regarding this point, Dr. Wu was extremely shocked. If someone had told him that the hidden injuries that Lin Yunqing had accumulated over the years could be healed within a month, he would have thought that the person was talking nonsense. However, now that everything had happened in front of him, he was speechless. Now, he was completely impressed by Bailey Hong Zhuang's medical skills. Not many people could compare to her medical skills. In the past, it was others who addressed him respectfully as Great Master. Now, he was the one who addressed Bailey Hong Zhuang as Great Master. When Di Beichen came to find Bailey Hong Zhuang, he saw Dr. Wu following behind Bailey Hong Zhuang with a serious face, listening to her medical opinions. Second young master, you're here. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Dr. Wu then looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang and said, Second young madam, how about you continue to explain tomorrow when you have time? His respectful expression clearly showed that he treated Bailey Hong Zhuang as his master. He was afraid that if Bailey Hong Zhuang refused, he would not be able to learn more. Recently, just by listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's introductions and explanations, his mastery of medical skills had already reached a new level. Therefore, he was now absorbing knowledge every day. Bailey Hong Zhuang had become his master. Okay. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled faintly. After Dr. Wu left, Di Beichen could not help but say, Dr. Wu was supposed to leave after curing mother's illness. I didn't expect that he would stay here permanently. I heard from my father that physician Wu had told him that he wanted to be the Di family's guest physician. Previously, my father had invited him a few times, but he had rejected all of them. Now that he had brought this up, it was all thanks to Hong Zhuang. Chapter 46-28. Although since the appearance of Bailey Hong Zhuang, Dr. Wu has revealed his lack of medical skills, but in fact, Dr. Wu has always been an outstanding figure among doctors. Previously, many doctors were invited, but all of them were helpless. Only Dr. Wu was able to find a way to delay. Just this point alone showed Dr. Wu's strength. Similarly, through Dr. Wu, they found that Bailey Hong Zhuang's medical skills were simply amazing. Actually, Dr. Wu is a very good person. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled. After this period of time together, she found that Dr. Wu was very eager to learn and never looked down on anyone because of their age. He also didn't feel that learning from her because of her young age was shameful. With this characteristic, she was sure that Dr. Wu's future achievements would be higher and higher. Therefore, for Dr. Wu's questions, she would not be stingy with her guidance. Dr. Wu's recent progress could be said to be great. Indeed. Lin Yunqing smiled. Dr. Wu staying in the family is a good thing. I don't have anything to do here, you can go back. Lin Yunqing smiled at Di Beichen and Bailey Hong Zhuang. During this period of time, she saw how affectionate these two little guys were and felt happy for them. Mother, then we'll go back first. Go back. Lin Yunqing nodded. I didn't know that you came here specifically to pick up Hong Zhuang. Mother knows me best. Di Beichen didn't explain and smiled. Along the way, Di Beichen told Bailey Hong Zhuang what his grandfather and others said. Wife, grandmother said that the family has a cultivation method of the light attribute, which is much better than the cultivation method in the Holy Assembly. She will give it to us later. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. The cultivation method we got in the Holy Assembly should be the most common one. The real top cultivation method must be in the hands of the leaders. However, after Ling woke up, she also told me about the cultivation method of the light attribute. We can compare these methods. D. Beichen's eyes lit up. Cultivation talent was one thing, but the cultivation method was equally important. If they mastered the correct cultivation method, their cultivation speed would greatly increase. They now needed to cultivate 2 attributes at the same time, so the time spent would naturally be much more than those who cultivated 1 attribute. Therefore, as long as they could save time, it would be the best. Inside the house, Bailey Hongzhuang and D. Beichen looked at the 3 cultivation methods. By comparison, the cultivation method of the family was obviously much better than the cultivation method of the Holy Assemblies. Just a slight comparison, they could see the difference. Master, we can just give up on the Holy Light Assembly's cultivation method, Blackie said. Even it could see the difference between the 2 methods. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and took out Ling Er's cultivation method. There's no need to look at it. Cultivate mine. Ling Er looked determined. Although the cultivation method you took out is not bad, and I think it's already very outstanding in the upper realm, you have to believe me. The cultivation method I took out is definitely the best. Chapter 46-29. Seeing Linger's confident expression, Bailey Hongzhuang and D. Beichen looked at each other and decided to believe in Linger. Linger's memories were indeed rather blurry, but her knowledge was definitely not something an ordinary person could compare to. Furthermore, Linger was originally a light attribute demon beast, and her performance in the light attribute was also very outstanding. Furthermore, to be able to seal her memories, one could see how powerful her master was. With such a powerful master, it wasn't strange that the cultivation technique he gave Linger was a top-notch inheritance. In that case, let's cultivate Linger's method. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. After deciding on the method, Bailey Hongzhuang and D. Beichen began cultivating. At the same time, when Xiren and the others were also cultivating. At night, they would head to the forest world to cultivate together. The time difference inside was of great help to them. During this process, everyone's speed of improvement was extremely fast. Bailey Hongzhuang was originally only at the 7th rank of the Astral Radiance realm, but now she had broken through to the Starlight realm. Not only her, but everyone's improvement was also very fast. This was also due to the huge contribution of the cultivation room. On this day, D. Beichen received a servant's notice that D. Yujue had called him to the front. Father suddenly called me over. Is something the matter? Second young master, I heard that people from the Shao clan have come. The patriarch and the others have already gone to welcome them. Shao clan? D. Beichen was slightly stunned. The Shao clan that has a lot of light attribute cultivators? That's right, it's them. The Shao clan has always had a close relationship with us. They must have heard the news of second young master's return and specially came to congratulate you. Hearing this, D. Beichen finally understood. In fact, he didn't have a good impression of the Shao family before. Because of Shao Rojin, he only felt that this family was not very tolerant. He didn't expect that they were so close to the D family. Shao So had been in a bad mood recently. The second young master of the D clan had disappeared for many years. She didn't expect him to suddenly return. According to her father's thoughts, it was obvious that he wanted her to be with the second young master of the D family. The other party was a cultivator who had just come from the lower realm. His cultivation was incomparable to theirs. Moreover, she was about to become the saint of the light. If she were to marry such a man, even if he was the successor of the D family, she would still become a laughing stock in the eyes of others. Over the years, the number of people who pursued her could already form a few streets, but her father insisted on abiding by the old rules of the family. She was really speechless. Just as D. Beichen was heading towards the meeting hall, he suddenly noticed an unfamiliar woman standing not far away. A trace of surprise appeared between his eyebrows. He then slowly walked over. Miss, you don't seem to be a member of the D family. What are you doing here? D. Beichen frowned and asked. He had been staying in the family recently. Basically, he was already familiar with all the faces of the family members. It was obvious that he had never seen this woman before. Xiao So suddenly heard the gentle and magnetic voice of a man. She couldn't help but frown. She was in a very bad mood and didn't plan on paying attention to anyone who tried to strike a conversation with her. Usually, there were many people who tried to strike a conversation with her. She was in a bad mood and couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them. However, when she turned her head, she saw a face as handsome as a god. Her breathing stopped and she actually forgot to speak. Chapter 4630. Seeing the woman in front of him looking at him in a daze, Bewitching couldn't help but frown. Is this person not the cousin mentioned by Xiaofeng? Yesterday, he heard from his elder brother that his cousin might arrive at the D family in 2 days, so he specially wanted to see his cousin. Not only that, but from his mother's words, he also learned that this cousin seemed to like his elder brother very much. In the eyes of the elders, she was most favored to be with his elder brother. However, he knew very well that his elder brother's sweetheart was Bailey Yunyan, so this cousin's thoughts would probably fall through. The girl in front of him was alone here, looking unscrupulous. He couldn't think of any other possibility except that she was his cousin. If not, he wouldn't take the initiative to come forward to say hello because his elder brother told him to tell his cousin that his elder brother had started a retreat and would not come out in a short time. Hey, you must be my second cousin. Just as Bewitching was thinking, suddenly, a lively and pleasant voice sounded behind him. Bewitching turned his head and saw a playful woman in a purple dress coming over. Her delicate face was filled with a joyful smile. Although it's the first time I see you, I can guess it when I see your appearance. You are Cousin Yi? Lin Yi smiled and nodded. She raised her chest proudly and said, Yes, it's me. Second cousin, where did big cousin go? I just went to his residence to look for him, but I didn't see him. Lin Yi looked distressed. Every time she came, big cousin would always think of ways to hide from her. It was precisely because of this that she knew that it was useless to wait obediently. She could only launch a surprise attack so that she could catch big cousin and prevent him from escaping. Listening to Lin Yi's words, Bewitching sighed in his heart. My elder brother is right. Cousin Yi will look for him everywhere when she appears. Cousin, elder brother started a retreat yesterday. I'm afraid he won't come out for a while. However, Lin Yi snorted, I don't believe in this. Every time I come, big cousin says that he is in close cultivation. How can it be so coincidental every time? In the next second, Lin Yi went directly to Bewitching's side. She held his arm with both hands, blinked her eyes, and said pitifully, Second cousin, this is the first time we have met after so many years. You can't not help me. Cousin, it's not that I don't want to help you, but big brother did go into seclusion yesterday. However, you don't have to be in a hurry to leave for a while. You can stay here for a while and accompany mother. Bewitching's lips curled into a faint smile. His mother really liked this mischievous cousin of his. Today, he also felt that his cousin was very likable. Although she seemed to be a little mischievous, she wouldn't be arrogant just because she was pampered. It was just that everyone in the family doted on her. Hearing this, Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Second cousin is right. Then I will stay here for a while and accompany aunt. Bewitching nodded, and his gaze fell on Xiao So again. Since you are not my cousin, then what are you doing here? The sudden question made Xiao So slightly stunned. Before she could answer, Bewitching's voice sounded again. Branch descendants don't walk around here. Leave quickly. Chapter 4631. Looking at Bewitching's departing figure, Xiao So finally understood that the reason why the man had spoken to her earlier was because he had mistaken her for his cousin. Now that he knew she wasn't his cousin, he actually left without even looking at her? Though it was as if he was dissatisfied with her running around everywhere. She, Xiao So, was still a great beauty, all right? Who knew how many men were chasing after her on a daily basis? Even if he didn't know her strength and identity, he shouldn't be too lazy to care about her and leave, right? Thinking of this, Xiao So felt a wave of gloominess, but she was also a little surprised. If it had been any other time, she would have already been angry if someone had spoken to her in such a manner. However, even after the man had left, she hadn't refuted a single word. Immediately after, Xiao Soa didn't continue to stay in the same spot. She wanted to find out who this man was. Diu Jue had immediately rushed over after hearing that the Xiao clan had arrived. As expected, he saw the Xiao clan's patriarch, Xiao Yanlong, as soon as he arrived. "Brother Yanlong, you've come." Diu Jue's face was filled with a warm smile as he cupped his hands. Xiao Yanlong also cupped his hands, his face full of smiles. "Brother Yu Jue, I heard that the second young master has been found, so I specially came to congratulate you." "Thank you, Brother Yanlong. Please come in." Diu Jue extended his left hand, inviting Xiao Yanlong to sit in the guest hall. Compared to the smile on his face, there was a trace of profoundness in his eyes. If it had been any other time, he would have been very happy when the Xiao clan had come. However, he could guess the purpose of the Xiao clan's visit at this moment. "Brother Yanlong, are you the only one who's come today?" Xiao Yanlong waved his hand. "I've come with my daughter today. You know the old rules of the Xiao clan and the Di clan. Previously, the second young master had always been away, so I didn't officially tell my daughter about this matter. Now that the second young master has returned, I've brought her over to take a look. It's just that my daughter has been spoiled by me all these years. After coming here, she went to wander around. I hope Brother Yujue doesn't take offense." Hearing this, Yujue smiled and waved his hand. "Our two families are so close, there's no need to stand on ceremony. I've long heard that Miss Sou is extremely talented and beautiful. Over the years, there are countless pursuers. Although Bewitching has returned, he has been wandering outside all these years. There is still a gap between his cultivation and the outstanding children of aristocratic families." As he spoke, Diu Jue observed Xiao Yanlong's reaction. Bewitching was already married. From the way he doted on Bailey Hongzhuang, it was impossible for him to marry another woman. Thus, he hoped that the Xiao clan would be dissatisfied with this marriage. In that way, the problem would be easily solved. All these years, their relationship with the Xiao clan had always been good. If possible, he didn't want to break off their relationship with the Xiao clan because of this. After Xiao Yanlong arrived, his thoughts had been rather complicated. At this moment, after hearing Diu Jue's words, he quietly heaved a sigh of relief. "Brother Yujue, to tell you the truth, my daughter has indeed been spoiled by me. Now that she's not young anymore, the family has already planned to find a marriage for her. However, she's too arrogant and picky." Chapter 4632. Xiao Yanlong was also very helpless in his heart. When Bewitching was born, he was very much in favor of this marriage. After all, the marriage between the Xiao family and the Di family was undoubtedly a strong alliance, not to mention that Bewitching had a cursed body. If other people had a cursed body, it might be very troublesome, but in the Di family, this cursed body was not a problem at all. The cursed body was the heavenly mandate body. From the moment they knew that Bewitching would definitely be a genius. It was just that the situation later was something that no one expected. Bewitching actually disappeared. For more than 20 years, although no one said it, he had long believed that Bewitching would not come back. At the same time, he was looking for a husband for Sou. He did not expect that Bewitching would suddenly appear at this time. He had never seen Bewitching, but Bewitching had been in the lower realm all these years. He did not need to think to know that he could not be compared with those young talents. Even if Bewitching had now transformed into a heavenly mandate body, it would not be a simple matter for him to catch up with the young talents of the same generation. What's more, without the nurturing of the Di family, this guy might just be a dandy. Because of these possibilities, and because of the friendship between the Xiao family and the Di family, he had no choice but to first bring Xiao Sou to visit them. He only hoped that this marriage could be resolved peacefully, and that the Di family could understand their approach. After all, Sou had been an extremely outstanding figure among the younger generation these years, and she would soon become the Holy Maiden of Light. Just this identity alone was not something that ordinary people could match up to. He must find the most suitable husband for Sou. If it was any other time, Diu Jue would be very unhappy when he heard Xiao Yanlong's words, because the other party's meaning was very obvious. He looked down on his son. However, Diyu now only felt that these words were like the sound of nature, solving the problem that had been troubling him for a long time. He had been thinking about how to break off the engagement without affecting the relationship between the two sides. He did not expect Xiao Yanlong to have the same intention. That would be great. Brother Yanlong is right. Young people have their own way of thinking. As parents, we only want our children to be happy. Naturally, we don't want them to do things they don't want to do. Diyu said with a smile. Originally, Xiao Yanlong was a little worried that Diyu would be unhappy because of this. After all, Di Beichen had just returned, and Diyu would definitely like this son very much. He did not expect that after he said such words, Diyu would not be dissatisfied at all. Instead, he agreed very much, which made him feel a little strange. Nevertheless, he heaved a sigh of relief when he thought that he had achieved his goal. The two of them, who were originally a little worried, breathed a sigh of relief after understanding each other's thoughts. Even their conversation became much smoother. It didn't take long for Di Beichen and Lin Yi to arrive at the reception room. Beichen, come and meet your Uncle Xiao. Seeing Di Beichen arrive, Diyu smiled and waved. Uncle Xiao. Di Beichen saluted. Xiao Yanlong's eyes also lit up the moment he saw Di Beichen. The Di family's genes had always been outstanding. This could be seen from Di Xiaofeng. He just didn't expect this Di Beichen to not lose to Di Xiaofeng at all. Not only his appearance, but even his temperament was not weak. Chapter 46-33. You are here too. Seeing Lin Yi, the smile in Diyu's eyes softened a little. He also liked this quirky little girl very much. Uncle. Lin Yi came forward with a smile and saluted Xiao Yanlong. Uncle Xiao. Xiao Yanlong smiled and nodded. This is the little girl of the Lin family, right? Second young master is really impressive and has an extraordinary temperament. He is definitely not an ordinary person. Xiao Yanlong praised. After deciding to cancel the marriage, Xiao Yanlong was not as worried as before. His praise at this moment was sincere. In all fairness, Di Beichen had stayed in the lower realm for so many years. It was already very good that he could grow to this point. If there had been no accident back then, Di Beichen would have been a well-known figure among the younger generation under the cultivation of the Di family. He would have been a perfect match with Sou, but it was a pity. Brother Yanlong is overpraising. Di Beichen has just returned, and there are still many shortcomings. Unlike Miss Sou, who is young and already famous. Once she takes over the position of the Holy Maiden, she will be extraordinary in the future. You're too kind. Xiao Yanlong touched the beard on his chin. Although he was modest, the pride on his face was already overflowing. He was indeed very satisfied with his daughter. Father. At this moment, a clear and cold voice sounded. Then, a beautiful yellow figure appeared before everyone's eyes. Looking at this familiar figure, Lin Yi was slightly stunned. She stared at Di Beichen beside her with her big round eyes and said, "No way? This woman is Xiao Sou of the Xiao family?" When knowing the identity of this woman, Di Beichen was also a little surprised, but his gaze only fell on her for a moment and then moved away. He didn't care who the other party was. What's more, this woman came to the Di family for the first time. Instead of staying in the living room, she ran around. She was either arrogant or unruly. Either way, it was clear that they did not respect the Di family enough. Say you are here. Xiao Yanlong's face showed a happy smile, and then said, "This is my daughter, Sei Wu. Miss Sou is indeed the same as the rumors. You are a dragon among men," Diyu said with a smile. Xiao Yanlong smiled and said, "So this is the second young master of the Di family, Di Beichen. Beside him is the young lady of the Lin family, Lin. Since you are all of the same generation, I'm afraid that you will often meet each other in the future. It's good to make friends." As soon as Xiao Sou walked in, she had already noticed Di Beichen. He was like a blazing sun that attracted everyone's attention. It was impossible to ignore him. However, she did not expect this person to be the second son of the Di family, Di Beichen. Many people were curious about this second young master before, but according to everyone's judgment, this second young master was most likely a good-for-nothing. But the man in front of her was neither servile nor overbearing. He was neither arrogant nor impetuous. He was calm and outstanding, which was far from everyone's guess. The most important thing was that looking at the man opposite her, she actually had a feeling of being moved. For so many years, there were countless young talents who had expressed their goodwill to her, but she had never paid attention to them. The strength of the man in front of her was obviously not as good as her. He ignored her and even scolded her, but she could not feel any disgust. On the contrary, she was very happy to see him. Chapter 46-34. According to her mother, when you meet a person who can make you completely different from your usual self, it means that you have fallen in love with him. Although she had always scoffed at her mother's statement, she suddenly believed it after meeting Bewitching. She didn't think it could be called love when they met for the first time, but she felt that she might have fallen in love with him at first sight. "Hello, I am Xiaosou." Xiaosou took a step forward with a bright smile on her delicate and outstanding face. She greeted Bewitching graciously. Her bright eyes shone like stars without any flicker or flinching. Xiaosou had never flinched. Since she might like this man, then she would like him. As long as Xiaosou likes him, so what if Bewitching is not strong enough? Whoever dares to laugh at him, then I will beat the other party until he can't speak. "Hello, Bewitching. I am Linny. I have long heard that the Xiao family's eldest miss has amazing light attribute talent. She is about to become the Holy Maiden of Light. She is really an amazing person." Linny smiled. Although it was her first time meeting Xiaosou, she had heard of her reputation for a long time. The future Holy Maiden of Light had an extraordinary identity. With a Holy Maiden of Light in the Xiao family, their status would be greatly improved in the future. Although she didn't feel anything, it was not bad to make friends. Anyway, she wouldn't lose a piece of meat if she echoed. Listening to Linny's words, the pride on Xiaosou's face was even greater. She was the most outstanding light attribute cultivator in recent years. Although it did not reach 100%, it had reached 98%. Now the Holy Maiden of Light was trying to improve her talent to 99%. Once it reached, she could be qualified as the Holy Maiden of Light. At that time, her status would be higher than it was now. Miss Lin is overpraising. At this time, Xiao Yanlong said, "Brother Yujue, since we have reached a consensus before, then the marriage between the two juniors should be cancelled. When we need to join forces in the future, we will still join forces. This matter will not affect the friendship between the two sides. How about it?" While talking, Xiao Yanlong also looked at Bewitching. "Second young master, you are a dragon among men. We definitely don't mean to look down on you. What happened back then was just an agreement between us elders. As you grow up, I think that young people have their own ideas. After all, the young people are different from our older generation. They all have their own decisions." After Bewitching heard Xiao Yanlong's words, he couldn't help but be slightly stunned. What was the other party saying? Why didn't he understand? On the side, Linny's face changed after hearing all this. She whispered, "Second cousin, don't tell me you don't know about it? What should I know?" Bewitching's brows wrinkled slightly. No one had ever told him about this matter. Only now did he understand why he was called over and not his elder brother. It turned out that there was such a relationship between him and the eldest daughter of the Xiao clan. However, the other party wanted to make a move on his wife. He was already disgusted. If it weren't for the friendship between the two families, he wouldn't even be willing to come here. Now she said that there was an engagement between them. What a joke. Fortunately, the other party refused. He only felt relieved. It's great. Chapter 46-35. It can't be, right? Second cousin, you don't even know about such an important thing. Linny was speechless for a while. The other party made it clear that they came here specifically to break off the engagement, but second cousin, don't take it to heart. This Xiaosou is very famous. Many people who pursue her are rejected. What's more, you are already married. In my opinion, it's good that you broke off your relationship with her. Otherwise, there will be trouble in the future. Many people may challenge you. Lin Yi comforted Bewitching. The other party came and broke off the engagement directly. Presumably, no one would be able to accept it. However, Bewitching's words made her stunned. It's good that they proposed it. Otherwise, if we proposed it, I am afraid it will make things difficult for father. In Bewitching's heart, Bailey Hongzhuang was the best. All the women in the world added up were not as good as Hongzhuang. If the other party abided by the previous engagement, it would make things difficult for them. Now it was better. Ahem. Hearing Bewitching's words, Lin Yi almost choked on her own saliva. Isn't this second cousin too arrogant? Looking at his appearance, it seems that even if Xiao Shou is willing to marry him, he will refuse. That is Xiao Shou, God's favored daughter. Although she was not interested in the other party, isn't your reaction a bit too arrogant, second cousin? However, Bewitching still looked indifferent, which made Lin Yi suddenly understand that her cousin did not deliberately say this for her face, but he thought so from the bottom of his heart. Second cousin is also a badass. I like it, huh? Xiao Shou was slightly stunned when she heard her father say such words. Only then did she remember the purpose of their trip. Previously, her father hoped that she could try to be with Bewitching, but she had been throwing a tantrum on the way here. She threatened to run away from home if she was forced to be with Bewitching. I didn't expect that my father had changed his mind when I just wandered around. Wasn't this change a little too fast? In fact, Xiao Shou did not know that Xiao Yanlong had always been thinking about it in his heart. Moreover, Xiao Shou had always been his most beloved daughter. Seeing that his daughter was unwilling, he naturally did not want to force her. After some probing, he found that Diyu Jue also agreed with his idea. Naturally, he quickly finalized this point. In this way, the daughter was happy, and the relationship between the families was not affected. Diyu Jue smiled and nodded. Brother Yanlong is right. Let's let bygones be bygones. Bewitching also said, I agree. Xiao Shou's expression suddenly became a little strange. Her father had already said this, what should she do? However, when she heard Bewitching agree, her expression turned even uglier. Do you agree? What do you have to agree with? Could it be that I, a proud daughter of the heavens, am not worthy of you? Looking at Bewitching's calm face, without the slightest trace of regret, her heart was also depressed. Is he not moved by me at all? For so long, Xiao Shou had always been very confident in her charm. She did not expect that the only man who moved her was not interested in her. The depression in her heart could be imagined. That's great. The smile on Xiao Yanlong's face became brighter. He turned his head to look at his baby daughter, waiting to see his daughter's happy expression. Chapter 46-36. However, when he turned his head, he found that his daughter was looking at him with displeasure. He couldn't help but be stunned. What's going on? Could it be that I didn't do well enough? But there was obviously no problem. Xiao Yanlong was also a little confused, but he really couldn't understand what was going on. It wasn't until Xiao Shou sent him a sound transmission that he understood. Father, in fact, this Bewitching is not as bad as I thought before. Xiao Shou was now about to die of depression. She thought that even if Xiao Yanlong wanted to bring up the matter of breaking off the engagement, it would be impossible to bring it up so quickly. What's more, the head of the D family would not agree so easily. Who would have thought that today's situation would be so smooth? In the blink of an eye, everything was completed. However, thinking that it was not easy for her to meet such a person who made her feel different, she didn't want to lose contact with him just like that. Therefore, under these complicated emotions, Xiao Shou still sent her thoughts to Xiao Yanlong. Listening to Xiao Shou's words, Xiao Yanlong was also slightly stunned. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes, but he quickly concealed it. What's wrong with my daughter? I've only been out for a short time. Why has her attitude become completely different? Although these words were not so straightforward as Xiao Shou's father, he knew his daughter's character very well. Just these words alone showed that Bewitching was very special to her. His gaze quietly fell on Bewitching, and he sighed in his heart. This Bewitching was really a talent. Although there were many people who pursued his daughter over the years, in terms of appearance and bearing, there was really no one who could be compared with Bewitching. No wonder his daughter changed her mind. After all, she was a young woman. It was normal for her to like handsome men. So, you have to think carefully. I have now decided to break off the engagement. If you want to go back on your words, then you can't change your mind. Xiao Yanlong couldn't help but remind her. This kind of thing couldn't be taken lightly. The fact that the other party didn't mind at all when she suggested to annul the engagement was already an act of magnanimity on his part. If they were to raise any other ideas now, it would actually be embarrassing themselves. However, according to his estimation, Diyu Jue would definitely not refuse. However, if they were to go back on their words, it would be disregarding the friendship between the two sides. If they were at home, his daughter could do whatever she wanted, but it was different now. Although this Di Baichen has a dignified appearance, you know that he came from the lower realm, so his cultivation is definitely much lower than yours. What's more, we've only just arrived and don't know much about him. You can't make a rash decision. Hearing Di Baichen's words, Xiao So stared fixedly at Di Baichen. She couldn't help but recall the other party's indifferent attitude towards her. Suddenly, she felt that such a person couldn't possibly be a hedonistic son of a rich family. One had to know that there weren't many young men who could overlook her beauty. Father, don't worry. I understand the importance of this matter. Seeing this, Xiao Yanlong was even more surprised. Could it be that his daughter fell in love with this Di Baichen at first sight? She clearly had so many high requirements before, but after seeing Di Baichen, she didn't care about any of them. In that case, I'll mention this matter to your uncle later. Chapter 4637. Xiao So was a girl. If people knew that it was her own idea, she would undoubtedly be looked down upon. On the contrary, he would talk to Diyu Jue in private later. He could take this matter on himself. He just thought that Di Baichen was not bad and hoped that they could develop. Hearing Xiao Yanlong's words, Xiao So was also delighted. Thank you, father. Second cousin, why do I feel that Xiao So and Uncle Xiao are communicating with each other through voice transmission? Lin Yi had been paying attention to Xiao So. She found that the details of communication between Xiao So and Xiao Yanlong were revealed. Di Baichen looked calm and indifferent. It is normal for father and daughter to communicate. I heard from others that this Xiao So has always been arrogant as a proud girl, but I think her expression when she looks at you is different. Not only that, when she heard that the engagement between you two was cancelled, she was stunned. Now she is communicating with Uncle Xiao. Lin Yi frowned. She tapped her chin with her index finger and looked at the handsome Di Baichen next to her. Her eyes suddenly lit up and said, Second cousin, do you think this Xiao So will take a fancy to you? You are so handsome. There are definitely many young women who fall for your charm. Maybe this Xiao So is one of them. Since Xiao So is a proud girl, there must be many pursuers. How can she be so superficial? Di Baichen shook his head. That's not necessarily true. Lin Yi said seriously, a woman's intuition is very accurate. I have this intuition, but second cousin, you are already married. I don't think Xiao So will do that. Little girl, why are there so many messy thoughts in your little head? Di Baichen looked at the mischievous Lin Yi. He suddenly felt that the scene of this girl and his elder brother together should be very interesting. Second cousin, you are really eldest cousin's younger brother. Even your words are so similar. Lin Yi puffed up her cheeks. You are not much older than me. How am I young? It's not small, it's not small. Di Baichen was helpless. He just wanted to pick up Hong Zhuang after he finished. Every day at this time, he would punctually go to his mother's courtyard to pick up Hong Zhuang. Today was undoubtedly a little late. After Xiao Yanlong and Diyu Jue talked for a while, they proposed to let the juniors go out. Since Xiao So had changed her mind, he had to tell this idea to Diyu Jue as soon as possible. Otherwise, once Diyu Jue spread the news, it would be impossible to change it at that time. Hearing this, Diyu Jue nodded and smiled. Yes, in that case, you take So around. The three of them walked out of the living room. Xiao So walked beside Di Baichen with a faint smile on her delicate and gorgeous face. Young Master Di, I heard that you just came back from the underworld. Are you used to it? I'm quite used to it. Di Baichen responded faintly, seemingly perfunctory. Seeing this, Xiao So frowned slightly. Is this Di Baichen deliberately pretending to be indifferent to attract my attention or what? I don't know, where are you going to take me to visit? Xiao So asked again. Hearing this, Di Baichen looked at Lin Yi on the side and said, You are also familiar with the Di family. You take Miss Xiao around. I will leave first. Chapter 4638. Seeing that Di Baichen threw her to Lin Yi like a burden and was about to leave, Xiao So couldn't help but ask, Young Master Di, where are you going? I'm going to pick up my wife. Di Baichen said, Take good care of Miss Xiao. As soon as his voice fell, Di Baichen left without looking back. He had never heard of this so-called engagement before. However, after thinking about it carefully, he understood that his father must have known his thoughts a long time ago, so he had the idea of canceling the engagement. He didn't say it because he was afraid that it would affect the relationship between him and Hong Zhuang. After all, this kind of thing was always a bit annoying. For him, Xiao So was a complete stranger. It was obviously more appropriate to have Yi accompany her. Xiao So was stunned. She looked at Di Baichen's back as he left. She couldn't wrap her head around it for a while. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. Yes, second cousin has been married before, and they are very loving. He is married? Xiao So frowned. When did it happen? It happened before returning to the Di family. Miss Xiao, in fact, it is good that this engagement is cancelled. There are so many people pursuing you. You will definitely find a good husband. Lin Yi said with a smile. If she was not sure that her intuition was right before, then now seeing Xiao So's expression, she was sure that her judgment was absolutely correct. If she was not interested in second cousin, with Xiao So's personality, she would not ask this at all, let alone show such an expression. However, Xiao So did not listen to what Lin Yi said at the moment. Her mind was full of her own thoughts. So, Di Baichen's previous indifference to me was not to attract my attention at all, but he really doesn't care? The other party is just a woman from the underworld. Is she more important than me? Di Baichen is too lazy to say a word to me. He is so anxious to find his wife. Does he like that woman so much? Thinking of this, an unspeakable jealousy and dissatisfaction spread in Xiao So's heart. She had always been a woman sought after by everyone. In the eyes of Di Baichen, she was not even comparable to a woman from the underworld. This was an insult to her. Lin Yi just noticed Xiao So's expression, and she knew that this proud girl was furious. She couldn't help but lament in her heart. Today, to help second cousin, I suffered a big loss. When I find second cousin, I must ask him to help me. Otherwise, it's not enough to repay him for such a big favor today. Miss Xiao, shall I show you around? Lin Yi asked tentatively. She was a little worried that her words at this time would directly ignite Xiao So's anger. If Xiao So exploded, she would be in trouble. But in the current situation, she couldn't help it. Xiao So's mood was really bad, but considering that Lin Yi was by her side, she forcibly suppressed her anger and said, Then, I will trouble Miss Lin. You're welcome. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. After Di Baichen and others left, Xiao Yanlong and Di Yujue chatted for a while and returned to the topic. Chapter 4639. Previously, he had never thought of marrying Xiao So to Di Baichen, so he naturally didn't pay much attention to the other party's situation. Now, the situation was different. Di Baichen was very likely to become his son-in-law, so he naturally had to clarify the situation. Seeing Xiao Yanlong suddenly talking about Di Baichen, Di Yujue was also a little puzzled, but he still replied, Although Di Baichen has been wandering outside these years, he has always been very diligent in his cultivation. Now that his cultivation has reached the Starlight Realm, although there is still a gap between him and the young disciples of the same generation, I believe that he will catch up very soon. Speaking of Di Baichen, Di Yujue was also very proud, and the smile on his lips became even more obvious. Although the current Di Baichen was indeed slightly inferior to the outstanding disciples of aristocratic families, with Di Baichen's talent and hard work, it wouldn't take long for him to catch up. Moreover, he knew that Di Baichen had the ability to fight above his level. Second young master has reached the Starlight Realm? Xiao Yanlong was astonished. He felt that Di Baichen had been staying in the lower realm for a long time, and it was already very difficult for him to break through to the Starlight Realm at his age. He didn't expect him to break through to the Starlight Realm. Judging from the cultivation resources in the lower realm, he was a first-rate genius. That's right. Du Jue nodded. Then second young master is also a rare genius. Xiao Yanlong couldn't help but sigh. Previously, he felt that his daughter was too impulsive just by looking at her appearance. However, based on the current situation, Di Beichen was definitely a dragon among men. This was also because he had been in the lower realm for all these years. If he was in the Di family, he would definitely be a famous person. Brother Yu Jue, I might have been too presumptuous before. I apologize. When I saw second young master today, I feel that second young master is also an outstanding person. If the two juniors are willing, why don't we let them get along? Xiao Yanlong asked with a smile. He had previously proposed to break off the engagement, and now he took the initiative to make such a suggestion. It was actually a slap to his face. However, for his daughter, Xiao Yanlong had no other choice. As long as Xiao Suo could be happy, this face was nothing. Following Xiao Yanlong's words, Du Jue couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't expect Xiao Yanlong to suddenly change his mind. Wasn't everything already agreed? Why did he suddenly change his mind? Could it be that he changed his mind after seeing Beichen? Du Jue pondered in his heart. However, after thinking about it carefully, he felt that something was amiss. If Xiao Yanlong had changed his mind after seeing Beichen, then he would not have let this matter go just now. Di Beichen S's. Brother Yu Jue, is there a problem? Brother Yanlong, to tell you the truth, Beichen is already married. Du Jue said. Married? Xiao Yanlong was stunned. Which family's lady did he marry? The other party is Beichen's wife in the lower realm, but Beichen owes her a great favor. If it weren't for her, Beichen would have been dead. Du Jue emphasized. Chapter 4640. Xiao Yanlong was a smart person. As soon as he heard Du Jue's words, he already understood what he meant. As soon as he opened his mouth, he wanted to cut off what he was about to say. If it was just an ordinary woman from the lower realm, they could completely ignore her, but Di Beichen was indebted to her. Du Jue made it clear that he would protect Bailey Hongzhuang and not let her touch him. For a moment, the atmosphere became a little awkward. Brother Yu Jue, Beichen is now the second young master of the Di family. His identity is far from what a woman from the lower realm can match. If Sou and Beichen are together, it will be a strong combination, a match made in heaven. Xiao Yanlong said hesitantly. Originally, he was full of confidence in this proposal, but now that such a problem had appeared, he did not know what to say. He believed that Sou must not know about this matter. If she knew, she might not like Di Beichen anymore. Du Jue smiled awkwardly, but his attitude was still firm. Brother Yanlong, I understand your good intentions. Beichen's wife is not only indebted to him, but the relationship between the husband and wife is also very good. What's more, my wife was also treated by my daughter-in-law. Although my daughter-in-law is from the lower realm, we are very satisfied. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang came, everyone in the family was very satisfied with her. She could enter the hall and the kitchen. Not only was her medical skills outstanding, but her cultivation talent was also not bad. In just a few months after coming to the Di family, her cultivation had already broken through to the Starlight realm. Bailey Hongzhuang was even younger than Di Beichen. Such talent was outstanding even in an aristocratic family. As for her background, they did not care at all. What's more, when Beichen was in the lower realm, Bailey Hongzhuang's family did not care about this. Why would they care? Hearing this, Xiao Yanlong was slightly stunned. Your daughter-in-law treated your wife's illness? Previously, he had already heard that Du Jue's wife was terminally ill. No matter how many doctors were invited, it was useless. At first, he thought that he would not be able to hold on for much longer. However, there had been no movement during this period of time. He still had some doubts in his heart. He did not expect that it was actually this young lady from the lower realm who treated him. Du Jue nodded slightly. That's right. Her medical skills are outstanding. It's very interesting that even Dr. Wu is learning from her. The moment these words came out, Xiao Yanlong's eyes flashed with a strong sense of astonishment. "You're talking about Dr. Wu Weiming?" "That's right, it's him." Seeing Xiao Yanlong's stunned gaze, Du Jue secretly laughed in his heart. When he had first heard this news, he could not help but be stunned. Wu Weiming's medical skills were praised by everyone. It was unbelievable that Hong Zhuang could let Wu Weiming learn from her at such a young age. However, when he saw Wu Weiming learning from Bailey Hongzhuang like a student, he sighed in his heart. In comparison, his daughter-in-law was a true genius. With her age and her cultivation, she was already considered a strong existence among the younger generation. In addition to her attainments in medical skills, she was already an outstanding existence among the younger generation. "Dr. Wu is actually learning medical skills from your daughter-in-law?" Xiao Yanlong did not dare to believe it. It was not easy to ask Dr. Wu to treat his wife. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.